Welcome to Game Soup. It's a game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. I'm Chloe Montgomery.
And I'm Kayla Dice. Have I ever told you how I always get mistaken for Australian?
You do, yeah. I don't understand this.
I don't entirely get it, but someone said recently they really got it when the way I said my name once. I think I'd just shown up in a room or something. And
said
like,
good
"Who's that?"
day.
And I went like, "It's Kayla." And I guess apparently the way I said Kayla in that kind of sense apparently had something.
Now the way you're saying your name, I'm getting it. But
yeah. I also wonder if it's
Kayla.
just the fact that Kayla is not a very common name in the UK.
No.
And while people should be able to make the jump of like, oh yeah, like this bitch picked it herself, they are maybe just assuming like, oh well, if she's got that name, maybe she was born elsewhere.
Yeah. We'll just have to change your name to Kaylee. That's a very British name, right?
Oh no, I don't. I don't know why I had such a visceral hatred
It's
to that.
Kaylee Dice.
Ew, bad, very bad. Kayla Dice. I have an interesting relationship with that name because it was just a pseudonym I picked, sort of just because of jumping off of a previous tag I'd been using.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. Sometimes I wonder, like, oh, do I consider that like my name, as opposed to like a name I do, like, because also just because like Kayla is the name either way. I just do a lot of fake last names. Like my wrestling name was like Kayla Fizz.
Yeah. See, it works as a good writer's name. Like, I just use my legal name. So, I don't know.
I like the phonetics of your name, though.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking, me and Alyssa, over a year back now, if we were going to, like, use writers' names. This was after we'd already published a book, so it was too late. But it was going to be like, oh, I'd be Chloe Bishop and she'd be Alyssa Knight. And so it'd be like chess pieces, it'd be cute.
That's really cute. Synced up ones. Yeah, the main reason I had it, partly it was like it led to a bit of continuity because I used to publish under just the name like The Dice, and then swapping to just as Kayla, it made sense to still grab a bit of it as a last name. But the other main reason is I was just avoiding kids Googling me, which is not really a factor anymore, but it would be pointless to change to
when you
using
work
my
at
legal
school.
name now. Especially because like, now I have won an award as Kayla Dice, I can never change off this name again. It's just the fact. Like, that's just, we are stuck with that now. It's good. I enjoy it.
I remember at the first Dragon Meet that we knew you at, and I'd forgotten your name. And so I was trying to get your attention across the show floor because it was like at closing time. I was trying to get your attention. And I was like, The Dice! Just shouted it really loudly across the floor, and you turned around like, huh?
I've not heard that name in a long time. By which, that actually Dragon Meet, that would have been like a month since I'd stopped using that.
Well, that wasn't this Dragon Meet just gone, it was the year before, so...
Yeah, I'm aware you knew my name at this Dragon Meet. You stayed at my flat. I'd have been kind of pissed off if you were like, oh, I forgot your name. You
never know. Listen, I'm terrible with names. I'm good with people on the internet because it's right there when I'm talking to you, but in person you need a name tag or we're fucked.
I feel I'm bad at learning names from people who I only meet in real life, but I think I'm pretty decent at remembering names of people via the internet.
I'm really good at remembering trans people's names. It's just like, I must remember this person's name, and it just locks in my head.
Yeah.
But my manager or my teachers, I'm fucked. But like...
Yeah, just like, I must remember this name. And also, great at forgetting trans people's names, in terms of like, this is now banished to the box. I don't see anything in the box.
Yes.
I had a fucking weird thing. So, I did a scrapbook recently.
Oh, lovely.
I finished off my scrapbook, which I realised I've now filled up that book, and it covers like 10 years of my life, which is fucking weird. But I was looking back at, like, I saved all of the, like, well wishes and get well soon cards I got when I had surgery. And I was looking at one where I was like, I have no fucking clue who this person is. I have no idea who they are, but they sent a nice message.
Yeah.
Very few other people did it. Is it this distant friend of a friend? that doesn't make much sense. And after like reading the message more specifically, trying to figure it out, I was like, oh, that is my best friend. They just don't use that name anymore. So I fully was like, who the fuck is this person?
You're just like going to your housemate, like, hey, do you know who sent this? It was me.
I figured it out, and now I've covered it up in the thing. I like just wrote like an actual note and covered it up in the scrapbook or stuff. Because I have my own, like, that's the thing. It is an old enough scrapbook that like there was a handful of tickets or stuff from when like I was still using a different legal name. So I scrubbed them out at the time because that was the way it works. But yeah, it's interesting.
I tried to scrapbook once, and I remember doing it for like a month. Like taping in like sugar packets from dates and stuff, and I did not do it again after that because life's pretty busy and scrapbooking is time consuming.
Yeah, I don't do it actively. What I do is, so I have a pin board in my room where throughout the year I pin up the things that I want to keep, so like tickets to things, so like the because basically, and then at the what I tend to say is, oh, and in January I scrapbook. That's a lie, because it got to February this year. But, like, it takes me a while to take down everything off that pinboard, because it's full by the end of the year anyway. Put it in a scrapbook. Next year I'll need to buy a new book as well. But, like, yeah, on the pinboard at the moment I have, like, tickets from films we went to see together when I was in Newcastle. And the zoo ticket as well.
Oh, well.
So, that was nice. And yeah, I think I just did it partly because I always kept that stuff anyway, and I used to just keep it in like bags, which felt weird. Like it felt messy rather than like anything. But yeah, then like Ritual Magic for Besties, which I guess at the time of airing that campaign is done one way or another. But that will be in a sort of scrapbook type layout. I just need to decide how much effort I'm putting into it.
The layouting, you should like print out all of the individual blocks, and then you have to like paste them back in like it's a proper zine, and then you have to scan them.
The thing is, I think that would look really cool, but because the game didn't really, light the world on fire, part of me is thinking, do I need to like limit the amount of work I'm doing a bit to try and
it'll make its money back at cons though.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. That's, just a question. Do I need to try and do a bit less work so me and also, well, at some point, are not doing just, like, too much for free? I need to have a think about it. I will have a way better idea by the time this episode is actually out, and I'll just be fucking doing it. But at the moment, it's still in the middle of stuff.
Love stuff.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts? I remember I cliffhangered the last episode and said, game in Ikea. Did you ever think about
let's
that?
do an IKEA game. I've not thought about it. I mean, like, my first thought is, like, you are locked in an IKEA and the things are coming to get you in a backroom sort of situation, but that's been done. I've seen it on Itch.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I feel the thing is, this has to be a game you're playing in IKEA as well.
Yeah, it's a not a LARP, but you are actively playing as you go around IKEA.
So what... Did you ever play... It was like some fucking like puzzle game that was on Game Pass and was about two people. You walked through these like puzzle-esque landscapes and would travel in time and stuff. But it was like the idea of like, oh yeah, these are all their places from their memories to remix. So what if my idea is you're walking through the storeroom, but you have to imagine you have ended up in this sort of like fractal dimension, and all of these storerooms are things that are places from your character's memory. Like
all of these showrooms of different living rooms, the different places they've lived.
Yeah, or could have lived in different lives.
Yeah, and you've got to work out how they all fit together in your narrative.
Is this a journaling game, then? Is this go to IKEA by yourself with a journal, do not buy anything?
I think this is, you go with your partner and you imagine the life you can live or could have lived together.
Yeah, so maybe it's a partner but still journaling game.
Yeah.
Maybe I almost like the idea of it's actually a journaling game, but like the best way to play it is like you and another person do it together. but don't communicate about the thoughts or stuff you're having, and at the end swap journals.
Yeah.
And you have
it's
this
like
sort
the
of
two
like,
different
fuck, I
timelines.
never looked that in. Yeah, it's different timelines because it fits that, like. And then maybe we have some mechanic at the end for this sort of debriefing phase, which is out of Ikea.
No, while you're eating your meatballs, the two timelines coalesce.
That makes sense, actually. While you're eating the Cinnabons.
Yeah.
I like this. I feel like it is a lot of just questions.
Yeah, it's vibes based.
Have you read any Lost and Found games?
I've never even heard of them.
So it's like the solo game that is where you play like an object usually.
Right.
And it's a thing where like it has like tables of stuff, but you don't actually roll on the tables. You just pick from them. I think that's the kind
is it
of
like Artifact?
Yeah, Artifact is that.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's maybe a similar approach to that, like, but obviously it doesn't apply to the object thing, but just the thing of like, yeah, you have this literal stimulus in front of you. You pick from a table how much time you're spending there and how much time you're thinking or writing or whatever. And then some questions you can choose from. And maybe there's like different things for suggested different areas because of the fact that, you know, like, oh yeah, these are some of the questions you can pull from when you're in a bedroom section versus a kitchen versus an office versus the sections which are not set up like places, you know?
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, it's questions, it's in a book. I think my only thought on layout is like, oh, this is a real like pocket-sized book. Like, you need to be able to fit this in your pocket.
Something you have to be able to fit in your jean pocket, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like A6 size.
Yeah, well, not a jean pocket. A jean pocket of someone with decent sized jeans pockets.
No, Kayla Dice's specific jean
But
pocket.
that's so small a lot of the time.
So it's A7 then.
So small, yeah. Like an A6 is a good size. Like cargo pants, which could slot in a fucking A6.
You
like a
have to play
motherfucker.
this wearing cargo pants.
Yeah, that's actually a bit. Yeah, I think that's maybe the other thing. It's like, yeah, if you can't fit this in your pocket, you can't do it. So your first thing is describing what your character's wearing and stuff. Yeah, I guess we have some character creation stuff at the start to mainly let you and your... I was about
Get
to
you
say,
on the
like,
same
partner,
page.
but then I was about... This is the thing. I was about to phrase this like, oh, okay, so it doesn't need to be, like, necessarily your romantic partner, obviously, but your partner in playing the game. And so I was just going to phrase it as play partner. And then I'm like, that actually has a specific meaning. That does not necessarily... I'm not saying you need to play with that person. But yeah, you have some questions just to sort of minimize the possibility of you just playing yourself.
Yeah.
And also there's the option of, you could fucking just play yourself if you wanted.
Yeah. Okay,
I feel
let's
like
do
this
another.
could... Yeah, I feel this game is done. And I feel like it could have a fun title. But I can't think of it
I
off
think
the top
it's
of my head.
something in Swedish that means something, but I don't speak Swedish.
Oh, a Swedish term relating to time or stuff.
Yeah, hang on. Let me
Yeah.
just Google Let me work out how to spell Swedish. Word for time. It's called TID. TID.
Tid. A stitch in tid.
Yes. Or Tidpunkt.
Tidpunkt. Yeah, something like that. Do you want to go back to the Large Hadron Collider then?
Is that what we're calling the generator?
Well, that's what I call the smashing two words together.
Oh, right. Okay. My word is meat.
Ooh.
MEAT.
My word is candlestick.
Candlestick. So there's a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker.
Oh yeah, we've got that. My initial thought when I saw the word candlestick was like, oh, we're going to say this is a game that involves literal candles. But actually,
Yes,
yeah, maybe it is about butcher, baker, candlestick maker.
You've got to... The game takes place while you are trying to cook something over candlelight. And that's it. Go. That's your timer.
I mean, that's actually the thing with timing. Like, because I did write a game which involves, like, a timer related to candles, but candlesticks last fucking ages. Like, we cannot use a candlestick as a timer. Unless you're in, like, marathon game sessions.
Yeah, 8-hour dungeon, and you have until the candlestick.
Yeah, like, if you are someone who is into these big, like... Yeah.
I want to do that one day, but dear God, where do you find the energy?
I feel like I'd have the energy for it, but I would need to... This is the thing, I'm very willing to play stuff, even if it doesn't necessarily excite me, just to play with friends, when it is smaller. I think if it was, marathon thing, I'd need to be invested in the game. Like, from the start, not like, I'll fall in love with this and play. I'm like, no, I need to, like, be up for this and what we're doing so immediately.
Yeah, if I'm spending an entire day playing this fucking thing.
But yeah, maybe that would work with the candlestick. Meat. Is this because you've been watching Don Meshi? Why you've gone for me?
I've been watching Dungeon Meshi, and I've been writing a game called Dungeon Country, which I think I mentioned it last time, but it is a PBTA dungeon crawler.
That's fun.
Yeah, the way I'm building it is that you build your playbook by taking a class, which is like your typical fighter, mage, thief, priest, whatever, and then you pick your background, which is like, oh, you're the blacksmith, oh, you're the entertainer, you're the doctor, or whatever. You mash them two together, and that gets you your proper playbook. So,
okay, yeah, like a 2-part one almost.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It feels like there's not been much writing in PBTA dungeon crawlers because Dungeon World came out and was just sort of the accepted text.
Yeah, I know lots of people who dislike Dungeon World for reasons other than the creator. But, also, yeah, it did seem to popularize the space enough that no one's gone back to it much.
Yeah. It's like there are other D20 dungeon crawlers than Dungeons and Dragons. Why are there not other PBTA dungeon crawlers than Dungeon World?
So Dungeon Country, do you think you'll stick with that name and have it as
I don't know.
The third thing of...
It's got nothing to do with Kobold or Goblin Country, but...
Yeah, but
it's like smaller than a Dungeon World.
Your takes on...
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute, actually. But it's your takes on these sort of,
yeah,
fantasy
maybe like
classics.
Dungeon Town or something. Like
Dungeon Town is cute.
I'm still figuring it out. I've got like a skeleton there. Maybe I'll put it on the Patreon, but it didn't originate from the podcast, so probably not. Lol.
Fair. Because we were talking about stats one week. What stats are you going with for your Dungeon Country town?
I have decided that it is based on parts of the body. So you've got your head stat, and your arm stat, and your hands, and your stomach, and your heart. So, like, you use your head for intuition and for looking and for brain stuff. Use your hands for little fiddly bits, like picking a lock. Use your arms for strength stuff.
So, this is a question. Do you imagine, though, if someone suggests doing something that is violent with their head? If someone's like, yeah, I want to fucking nut this guy. You're like, well, okay, I guess you should
You're
do
not
this
using your
attack roll
brain
with
power,
head.
though, then.
Okay, I didn't know how, like, rigid you were to the body.
No, so, like, I've got a bunch of moves that it's like, if you attack someone using your strength, use your arms.
Yeah.
And so that's the verbiage I'm using throughout it. Instead of rolling with arms, it's use your arms.
Use your arms. That makes
So I'm
sense.
trying to write it in a voice of, like, an adventurer's guide.
That's cute.
And, like, all of the character creation stuff is like, oh, I fight with a sword and a shield, so I get this bonus. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I like half. I like, combine two elements to get a playbook.
It's underused.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's also just like...
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and it can obviously make each individual like half playbooks feel less specialized. So I get why people sometimes end up drifting away from it. But I find it interesting.
That's why I'm trying to do the like the dungeon class, like your fighter, your mage, are all about the combat stuff, and then your background is all about out of combat stuff. So it kind of like builds together. So like your background is like what would be your skill list in other RPGs.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm still now back stuck on this meat and candlestick.
Meat and candlestick, yes.
Are we doing a game where your class options are butcher, baker, candlestick maker?
See, I'm thinking of the Homestuck epilogues, and yeah, our listenership just went through the fucking floor. The Homestuck epilogues do this thing where they split the narrative into two timelines, where one of them is meat and one of them is candy, depending on what one of the characters chose at a picnic to eat. And so the meat path is like, oh, it's all really important, gutsy, character action stuff. And the candy is all just like, ooh, we're all going to have relationships and be shippy, and it's all going to be wish fulfillment, and none of it's meaningful. The plot never moves forward in candy, but nobody gets any development in meat.
I see.
So it's all just like really meaty. We're moving the plot forward, and it's like a balanced diet needs both meat and candy sort of thing.
That's interesting. So you're thinking we have this in a game somehow? We're splitting into a meat timeline, or?
Well, I'm thinking like we work out a way that it is only this action meat, and I think you play as a bunch of living candlesticks. You know that you only live for 12 hours. If your flame goes out, you're dead. And you have to live your life as a candlestick of action. You have to fulfill your life's dream in this 12 hours you've got to live. But of course, life can't just be about the meat. You have to have some character life in there. But is that what being a candlestick's about? Is that do you want to waste your 12 hours of life making friends and kissing the girl? No, you want to be fighting the dragon and whatever.
My mind, I suddenly did think of an idea that relates to that, but it's slightly different, but also doesn't involve the candlestick, which you have very heavily involved the candlestick, which is good. I was just like, oh, well, maybe this is one of those sort of, like, trapped in movies things, where it's like, yeah, but what if this is a person who only exists when they are seen on screen? And
yeah,
almost the nature of, like, well, do you want to go rogue and maybe form more relationships in a almost, I guess, in a sort of Lego Movie Toy Story way, except you're the characters on a TV screen.
Yeah.
But then that fails the candlestick, whereas your 12-hour alive idea with the candlestick does bring that back in.
Yeah. We were watching, sorry, totally off topic, but your idea of like trying to take the position of protagonist in a world sort of thing idea. Last night we were watching the Doctor Who episodes with the Family of Blood, where the Doctor uses the chameleon arc and becomes a human.
Yeah.
And forgets that he is the Doctor. And there's this total random subplot where one of these school children steals this watch that contains the essence that is the Doctor. And it has nothing to do with the plot. At the end of the thing, he just gives the watch back to the Doctor. Like, it could totally be cut for time. But it's just there, and it's just like, was there another version of this script where this school kid was the protagonist of this story? Like, the camera just starts following this guy because this kid has the Doctor in his hand.
Yeah.
it's
I
like
don't like Family of Blood and the stuff was like based on a book, so I mean, like, my guess is either that was either a bigger plot in that book, or
was it?
that was added because the book was thinner and they did just need to pad out some timing.
Yeah, because it's a two-parter, but
Yeah.
and the guy's played by the actor for Ferb from Phineas and Ferb. So
This has now got me in the mindset of you saying candles. Reminded me of the chameleon arch thing. Has reminded me of like old Power Rangers plot points where it'd be like, oh yeah, someone's like life force is tied to a candle.
yeah,
So maybe
so I
it's
don't know.
that.
This,
Maybe
the protagonist has put their spark into this candle.
Oh, maybe it's someone has put all of their meat, by which we mean all of their like sort of action dynamism into a candle, and they have until the candle burns out. Which you probably won't use a real candle because we've established how long this takes.
Yeah.
But they have until the candle like burns out to essentially find a meaning of their life that is less action orientated. Like they are this like action movie hero or supporting character or stuff, and it's like, well, you've put all your life force in this candle, and if you before the candle burns out can essentially find like a life that is away from this time of action, then you can escape the story. But if not, candle burns out,
and you have to become John McClane again.
Yeah.
I like this. I like both these ideas.
Yeah. This is another escaping story thing, which was
you go
also
to this
how
a
we
lot.
did. I do. I think it's actually deeply revealing about me.
You are trying to escape the story you're put into a lot. And I think I always write games about kind of the outsider characters.
Yeah. I wonder why the two of us, trans women, in at least one specific area, I'm just like, oh, I mean, the transness does link to both of those a little bit.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Yeah. Other reasons, I'm sure, as well. This is the danger with this podcast, is us, like, turbo churning ideas means we notice.
Oh, I've already noticed that from my own published games. Never mind these.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always fucking sell my games, or when I've described my work, I tend to say, like, oh, it focuses on themes of alienation and connection. Which, to be fair, is partly me doing a, like, after-the-fact melding of stuff so that I feel there's a cohesiveness. Because otherwise I'm like, genre, style, or system, a lot of my games just aren't alike each other.
Yeah. So I think the one that I was pitching is called Candystick. And this one about getting rid of your, like, hiding your action movie protagonism in a candle.
Yeah. I think it's Burnout.
Burnout.
Like, probably needs a subtitle or something because of Burnout game is already taken. But I'm just like, yeah, Burnout. It's about
Burnout 3, takedown.
Burnout Paradise, because that's obviously, what
you're trying to find paradise.
Yeah, obviously. But it's, yeah,
I'm happy with
Lights,
that.
Camera, Burnout, or something. Yeah. I'm happy with that. That's two interesting games from the same prompt. We are at our half an hour mark because I took up 10 minutes at the start, just talking about life.
Yeah. It's okay, I'll forgive you.
Oh, I think we had good audio content in there. I think there's always this element of the podcast that has its recurring segments, which aren't explicit, like, just like in the same, like, lifelong listeners of this podcast will one day find out what's wrong with both of us physically as they follow
as soon as we find out.
Yeah,
you'll know.
Like, that's the important thing. It's like, Chloe's not mentioned being tired a lot in a while. Kayla was talking about pain here. What could this mean? Like, that's the intrigue we have going on.
That's the ARG. If you can figure it out before our doctors, you win a prize.
Oh my god, yeah.
Thank you for listening to Game Soup.
I also don't have anything, bye.